Let's see if it happens here. I gotta see here. That's why I'm always looking down. It's because I'm always checking this. Stupid. Freaking stupid. There I am. I'm alive. Come to me, baby. All right. So, I'm going to go ahead and start this live this morning. I appreciate. Oh, there's Triagan Buddhist right there. I was just going to say, there's nobody here. I appreciate nobody being here for this morning's because I'm wholly unprepared. I have a huge number of notes, which means, Ariel, I'm not stupid. Okay. Huge number of notes, which means I don't know what the hell to say this morning. That's what that means. Because if I don't have any notes, I already got it going. So, look at all you guys just pouring in here. I just poured hot water onto a coffee cup that spilled towards me, and now I have a red belly. And it hurts. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that. Ariel, it's good. Ariel, I'm glad the first thing you said coming in, I'm not stupid. Okay. I appreciate that, making that declaration. Very good. Minion, good morning. Florence, good morning. Jody, good morning. Maureen Lafarme. Maureen Lafarme. That sounds français. Is that français, Maureen? I don't know. Okay. Okay. All right. So, like I said, I've got a bunch of notes here, and that means I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. From Canada. You're a Canadian. Yeah, from Montreal. That's where my middle name is Theroux. I don't know when we came over from France, but we came through Montreal, then down into Louisiana, and hung out in the bayous and stuff. Not as much of a Cajun as Cajun Juju is, but my mama was Cajun. I mean, she was, and very proud of it. So, okay. So here we go. Here we go. Sorry. So I got lost in the chat right off the bat. Not a good sign. Okay. Yesterday's vid on Nora and the idea, Kiara, good morning. The idea of self-destructive cognitive distortions is probably people think I'm cruel for saying it. They think, all this stuff. I made an example. But you have to understand, ever since I learned about this, like maybe 12, 13 years ago, and I began to bring myself up out of this self-talk that came from me being an anti-Scientologist and set me against my Scientologist self, I began to realize that it was all around me among anti-Scientologists, my fellow anti-Scientologists. And I started writing about it. And this is one of the things that made me so unpopular is because, he's criticizing us and all we're doing is getting justice for Scientology's victims. Well, no, you're not. You're not getting justice for Scientology's victims by elevating things into a nightmare fantasy land. You have to stay at a level of reality that law enforcement can do something about. And when your own self-talk is nothing but a continuing nightmare fantasy about your own past and the past of others, law enforcement looks at that and goes, okay, these guys are not, there's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do about that. And they're really going at it. So, a fanatic is somebody who can't change the subject, okay? They start talking and talking and talking, and they can't change the subject. That's a fanatic. And so there are Scientology fanatics, and there are anti-Scientology fanatics. And one of the things that makes an anti-Scientologist a fanatic is the anti-cult ideology turned up to 11. And so that's why I talked about Nora. Thank you for those 13 likes. Look, there's 22 people here, and 13 of them remembered to hit the like button. Okay? I guess intelligence is on a curve, right? And so are those 13 in the top intelligence tier of remembering to hit the like button? Thought there's 14. Okay. I'm just kidding you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. Okay. So anyway, that's why I believe it's important. Good morning, Patty. Um, uh, that's why I believe it's important to talk about cognitive distortions. And I used Nora only as an example because Nora is out there and she is just blatant with her cognitive distortions, and it's very easy to see. So, but otherwise, like I've said over and over, she's incredibly intelligent. She has all of the necessary components to bring herself up out of these nightmare fantasies that she tells herself every single day and is causing her own self-destruction with, and causing us all to be less effective activists and protesters. You can't take a nightmare fantasy into a courtroom. The rules of evidence and all kinds of stuff make it so that you can't get anything done with a nightmare fantasy or a weaponized oversimplicity. You're going to lose in court. So we got to be more down to earth, and we got to be more real about the things, the actual criminal violations of criminal statutes that will get justice for the victims of Scientology. So that's why I did that video with Nora yesterday. Also, Scotty's video on Kyle Brennan yesterday, if you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. It is a very clear statement of the evidence surrounding the death of Kyle Brennan. And the testimony that Denise Miscavige, David Miscavige's twin sister, and Tom Brennan, Kyle Brennan's father, gave to the police. Those show how they changed their stories. And, this is a suicide, remember? Quote unquote. I'm sorry, this was an S word. Quote unquote, remember? So, do you really wipe the blood and fingerprints off of the gun and bullets and everything at a suicide? At a S word? No, you do not. You only do that at an M word. So, once again, Scotty did a great job of getting this across to people. And it really is, it's very hard hitting. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you know somebody who hasn't seen it, share it with them. Have them watch it. Okay, then, going on to the next item on the list. I have upcoming videos, but they're kind of difficult. No one's talking about these things in the anti-Scientology world at all. Or if they do, they're doing it in a way that actually is kind of not going to help. So I have an upcoming vid on cognitive dissonance theory, like straight from Leon Festinger, the guy that did all the work for Stanford University on cognitive dissonance. It's actually a theory of personality that includes thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And when you get into that and you really look at it, you see that cognitive dissonance theory is used in Marine boot camp to change a peace-loving hippie into a trained killing machine and like it. Okay? Cognitive dissonance theory is used to do that, and I'll show how that's done. It has a lot to do with the very beginning of Scientology and a lot of stuff that we see around. And there's a lot of misinformation about it. Cognitive dissonance is not holding two opposite ideas in your head at the same time. That is not cognitive dissonance. Okay, and I'll get into that. Then ideologies, and I know that ideologies are just kind of this kind of boring, dry, academic type thing, but ideologies are the basis of everything that we're talking about here in cults versus anti-cults. And I did a survey of the people in my audience. What ideology did they subscribe to or religious belief? And I'm going to be talking about that and how ideologies influence and affect your attitudes about other people's religions. And I swear to God, that sounds really boring, but I swear to God, I'm going to sex it up. It's going to be great, okay? Okay. So, and then also, I talked to Jerry Armstrong again last night, and we're setting up an interview for this weekend. We haven't figured out exactly whether it's going to be a live or whether it's going to be a recorded interview that I upload and do a premiere with. We can do both of those. But I do see that she is in the chat. I need to speak with you before that, and hopefully you can help me get set up for that. And hopefully I'm going to invite Scottie Hochstetter to be our celebrity admin for that one, and we'll see if we can get this done this weekend. And I'm looking very much forward to it. Making Chi McMuffins, no problem. Awesome. All right. Okay, so T. Believe it or not, T. A voice down under. I don't see you in the chat, but this is to you. I did 2 videos to you, directly to you, this last weekend, and I couldn't use either of them because I have to, in order to keep my phone from overheating, I have to blow the air conditioning onto the phone, and these headphones don't do noise cancellation enough that the audio was horrible, and I couldn't use any of it. But basically, I wanted to tell you that you did a great job proving, using source materials and everything else, proving that L. Ron Hubbard taught that children were adults in small bodies. But what you have not done yet is proved that that leads to a high level of CSA within the Church of Scientology. And again, I gave the example that if the 7-year-old quote and any other instances of the promotion of CSA by L. Ron Hubbard that you can find in the materials of Scientology actually made Scientologists into practitioners of CSA, such as me, such as Leah Remini, such as Aaron Smith-Levin, Nora Ames. Were we all PDF files? Because if L. Ron Hubbard taught it, we were supposed to believe it, right? So were we? And so T, use your skills to prove that point. You have made an inference, you've suggested that the children in small bodies teaching leads to CSA. But if the second high crime in Scientology is CSA, if none of us were practitioners of CSA when we were Scientologists, how can you justify this leap from children in small bodies to high levels of CSA? And what are the levels? Are they higher than any other human group in Scientology? So let's get into that. I'd like to actually put this to bed, because when I first saw it arising, this accusation that Scientologists were PDF files, that was like, what? And then this use of this 3 sentences on page 380 something in Dianetics, but nowhere else in Scientology for the next 36 years, plus these rules against it. I'm going, this is wrong. What are you doing? Well, it's easy to see what you're doing. You want people to hate Scientologists. Okay, well, how do you do that? Well, you make them into PDF files. Everybody hates PDF files, so Scientologists are. So, T, I would like, my challenge to you is make that something more than a smear. Provide the evidence necessary that shows that all Scientologists are PDF files because L. Ron Hubbard taught them to be that. Or something, some level of that. Use your skills to do that. That's my challenge to you. And I'll tell you what, if you can come up with the evidence that positively proves your claim, you can change my mind, I swear to God. Even though I do know that I never was one when I was a Scientologist. And neither was any other Scientologist I knew for 16 years. So, I'm sorry, wrong. There was one that I knew pretty well, actually, who was a PDF file. And he was not sent to the police by Mike Rinder. He did have, hi Sue, he did have internal handlings with the church, but he was soon gone. Anyway, whatever. So, now, the last thing I want to talk about, we want to know about him. You would not believe this story. It blew my mind, okay? It will blow your mind. I just don't know, whenever it comes down to this kind of thing, I'm going to hurt people by telling this story, see? And so I don't know if it's worth it to hurt them. But maybe not. Did you just whatever and brush off something that could be what two sides that have big disagreements actually have in common? Did I? I did say we should schedule it with a warning in the title. Okay. Well, what I mean by hurt people, I mean the victim. I can hurt the victim. And when you hear the story, you might agree. So anyway, there's a kind of thing that's rising up in the discourse between me and Scotty and a lot of other people around, where we want to actually identify who the OSA agents are who are operating and embedded in the anti-Scientology world and who are doing whatever they can to influence. For instance, well, I won't get into the for instance yet. First, I'm just going to say what I have to say. I have learned a lot about this because I know what OSA does. I did that one project for OSA, was completely disgusted by it, and never did a second one. And then when I got out, I immediately started writing about what I knew about OSA. And what that did was bring in a bunch of people on me about how, OSA's operating now, but they're not really, they don't have any teeth, Alonzo. They're just fanatics, and they're kind of like slow and stupid. And so we don't really have to worry about them. And I'm like, really? Chris Owen says they have the intelligence network in Scientology rivals the intelligence network of many countries. And so we get into this big thing, and pretty soon people start calling me paranoid. They say I'm crazy, that I see OSA everywhere, and all kinds of stuff. And so I've learned a lot because I've made a lot of mistakes in this area about identifying who's OSA, who's not OSA, etc. And the biggest thing that I learned was that I can be 100% certain about something that is 100% false. Okay? That's what I learned. Now, there's a bunch where that applies, in me and Scientology and me and anti-Scientology and, all that. But when it comes to OSA, I can be absolutely positive that another person is OSA and be completely wrong about it. Okay? So, one of the things, and Jeffrey Augustine said, a lot of people don't think Alonzo's OSA, but you can't convince me. This guy's a scumbag, and he's total OSA. He's been OSA all, and I'm like, if I was OSA, I would have noise-canceling Bluetooth headphones, okay? 86 GOP, Ribguy would have given me a bunch of money by now. But for some reason, these guys don't target me to give me money. Why is that? Why don't 86 GOP and Ribguy? I could use some cash, man. I could use some new noise-canceling headphones. Why wouldn't you give me money? Because you'll make it easier for me to communicate. And you don't want that, right? I think. So, here's what I learned. You cannot have a pet theory. You cannot have a pet hypothesis. You must always juggle, good morning, hippie chick. You must juggle many different hypotheses. Have the discipline to have doubt, continuing doubt on any hypothesis you have that you really, really want to be true. And instead, gather facts and put them under each hypothesis that supports each of those facts and assign a percentage of probability that you believe. So juggle 4 different hypotheses, right? When it came to Mike Rinder being an OSA agent, okay, I had 8 different hypotheses. And the specific, this is what I learned, it has to be a specific question that can factually be observed. Like Mike Rinder, in the whole time he came out of Scientology and ran all of the discussion about Scientology on the internet, he never once revealed the violation of a criminal act, of a criminal statute. He never once said anything that could lead to a criminal indictment. So with Mike Rinder running the Office of Special Affairs, running all fair game on all critics and squirrels in Scientology, and reporting that to David Miscavige every day, which I also proved. Marty Rathbun wrote an affidavit, a sworn affidavit to a court, detailing the exact procedures that they would do when they coordinated on all the fair game activities that were being done on the enemies of Scientology. I proved that, and then I proved that he's never revealed a crime, even though he would come back and say, I gave that thumb drive to the FBI. I've been to the FBI multiple times. Well, if he went to the FBI with that thumb drive, I've seen the thumb drive. There are no criminal acts on that thumb drive. They're highly immoral, morally outrageous acts, but none violate a criminal statute. No criminal indictment can be issued on anything that was on Mike Rinder's thumb drive. See? So it was all a PR caper from Mike Rinder to say, I went to the FBI multiple times. I reported my thumb drive. Okay, that it's not going to result in any criminal indictment. And I can tell you that as the CO OSA, he knows the difference between violation of a criminal statute that can result in criminal indictment and forensic accounting and highly penetrative criminal subpoenas, all those types of things, and a lawsuit. He knows the difference between those. The Church of Scientology eats lawsuits for lunch, okay? They've got plenty of money to drag lawsuits out and do all kinds of stuff with lawsuits and then end up settling in the end and all that. What they can't handle is a criminal indictment. And if you look into the history of the Lisa McPherson case, that's what they really went on because it generated a criminal indictment. And so Marty Rathbun and others actually got the medical examiner, they pressured the medical examiner enough to change her testimony, which then killed the prosecutor's case. And then the medical examiner, the Pinellas County medical examiner, has just kind of disappeared. Nobody knows where she went. She resigned and is gone. Was gone from the scene for anybody to talk to. So they really go after criminal indictments. Mike Rinder knows how incredibly dangerous a criminal indictment is to the Church of Scientology. You also have the thing with Lisa Marie Presley in the Masterson trial. In both trials, Lisa Marie Presley was on the witness list, and she was reportedly supposed to testify about a senior Scientology official who came to her and asked her to pressure Jane Doe #1 to not go to the police about the Danny Masterson issues. Can I say if he's been convicted? Can I say the word on YouTube? Anyway, so she was going to testify which Scientology official came to her and pressured her to intimidate a witness in a felony. And she didn't get on, for some reason the LA County prosecutor didn't call her onto the stand for the first trial. And on the second trial, she was on the stand and then she died. She died of a heart attack. And so, who was that Church of Scientology senior official that went to Lisa Marie Presley and pressured her to intimidate a witness in a felony grape case. Who was that? We still don't know. I have some ideas. I have some speculation about who that was, because he would have been the guy whose job it was to protect the church against criminal indictments. Now, Mike Rinder, as the CO OSA, that was his job. The last thing they want is a criminal indictment. So we're going to do whatever we can to make sure all criminal indictments go away and turn them into lawsuits, because we got plenty of money for that. So, why did Mike Rinder never reveal a crime? I had 8 different hypotheses for that, okay? And they're all written on my blog, which you can't see right now because of violations to the U.S. Copyright Act and other highly dastardly bullshit that was done to make me have to protect my blog and block access to it for now. So I learned that you must always juggle multiple hypotheses and never fall into the fatal flaw of having one pet hypothesis and then argue with everybody else about it and dismiss all other possibilities. That's a fatal mistake. And it's something that is the reason that we're so ineffective as protesters and activists in developing something that's actually going to do something about making a change to the Church of Scientology. You get one faction who believes in one hypothesis, and then you get another faction who believes in another hypothesis, and they fight with each other. Why don't we just, that's a possibility too. What are the facts that support this one? What are the facts that support that one? See? Hold them both in your mind. That is it's a discipline, and it should be developed if we're going to get effective. So the first thing is you can be 100% certain about something that is 100% false. Another thing that I've learned over the years is that if I'm pissed off with you, you're an OSA agent. Okay? I don't know if you know that or not, but if you have come after me and disagreed with me and tried to make me into a fool publicly and humiliate me and all that kind of stuff, you must be an OSA agent. Why? Because I'm so righteous and I'm so effective that you have to come after me and take me down. That's what OSA does, and that's what you're doing, and so therefore you're OSA. Okay, wrong. Like I talk about Jeffrey Augustine and Karen de la Carriere all the time, and it seems like I'm positive they're OSA. I wasn't even positive that Mike Rinder was OSA. Okay, after a while, after I learned all this stuff, I'm not positive that Jeffrey Augustine and Karen de la Carriere are OSA. There's a lot of facts that go against them being OSA. There's a lot of facts that support it. The problem is that OSA does a certain amount of things, and the people who hate you do the same things, okay? The same things. So you can't tell. You can never be 100% certain that someone is OSA. All you can do is present factual evidence that makes people think critically, makes people not just swallow everything these people say, okay? They have some kind of information necessary to make more informed decisions about what these people are talking about. So, like in the area of Jeffrey and okay, I'll just take another one. In Scotty's video on Kyle Brennan, he actually took my voice from a video I did about Aaron Smith Levin and Marissa Sigmund running the church's Chore Story line on the death of Kyle Brennan. And I showed how, for some reason, against all the evidence that Victoria Britton has spent years and years and years amassing on her blog, and the work that I've done with her to take pieces of that and make them into like ice pick to the forehead messaging to people so that they can get that 13 pieces of evidence were wiped clean of blood and fingerprints at the scene of Kyle Brennan's death. Okay? That fact doesn't happen at an S word. But for some reason, and I presented these facts to Aaron and to Marissa multiple times. For some reason, they never they never saw it. They never saw that evidence. And they said this the church's short story that they took away his Lexapro and locked it in a trunk, and all of a sudden Kyle was so depressed that he shot himself in the head like this with a 357 Magnum. And then after death, he wiped away all the blood and fingerprints. I mean, so why are Aaron Smith Levin and Marissa Sigmund running the church's short story? Does that prove they're OSA agents? No, they could just be idiots. They could just have a pet hypothesis that he killed himself because they took away his Lexapro. They could just and they will not consider any other possibility or any evidence at all. They just got this and they're going to run that. That is what they're doing. They are running the church's short story, but why? I don't know. I just felt that it was really important to show that they are. See? So these are the pitfalls of trying to identify OSA. Okay? Other people who are OSA. And you should just live with the fact that you can never be 100% certain about it. You can present evidence. You can get people to consider that evidence so that you can think critically about it and be more informed, make more informed decisions about it. But you can't really, have a smoking gun type thing. So, there was one other thing that I wanted to say about this. And it had to do, there was an OSA, what I believe was an OSA operation. It went like this. I'm on a message board, and I noticed like a pattern with 5 different people on this message board who all pretended to have some kind of authority and understanding of how OSA worked for the rest of the group. And so I noticed that if you talked about a past OSA project that was pretty proven, like things that were done to Lisa McPherson, things like that, these people would go right along with it. It'd be totally fine because it's in the past. It's not extant. It's not operating right now. But if you say something that is extant and operating right now, all 5 of these people would come out of the woodwork and call you insane and do just gang up on you, dogpile you with how insane you were. Okay? And I'm like watching this and I'm going, okay, I'm gonna test this out. And I'm gonna say something about something that would be an extant OSA operation going on right now. And it looks like that if everybody knew about it, it would be blown, right? It would no longer be covert. And sure enough, same 5 people came out of nowhere to tell me how insane I was, etc. And to try to get everybody else to tell everybody how insane I was. I went, okay, and I noted down each of the names, who I thought it was, and so I did it again, and they did it again. So I ran this test, and I saw this behavior on this message board. And this was what? This was it was 2007, 2008, 2007 or 2008 time period. And I've seen that same pattern everywhere, okay? On the internet, whenever Scientology is being discussed, in chat rooms, on message boards, Discord servers, there's a group of people whose job it is to try to do whatever they can to discredit somebody, especially when it comes to talking about OSA. So you need to understand this. It doesn't mean that if somebody's trying to discredit you, then that means they're OSA, okay? They could just be pissed off with you. And they could, you could be having a disagreement and they can't stay on the subject, They're insulting. They do ad hom attacks, all kinds of stuff. That is an OSA trait. They do try to run character assassinations on people, but also regular run-of-the-mill humanoids do that as well. So that's what I want to say, and that's a preface. Like these cautions, these things I've learned are a preface to talking about other people. I'm going to tell stories about other OSA operations that have been run against me that I have like 90% certainty on this, etc. By the way, one of those people that on that message board who was very hot to, acknowledge anything that was happened in the past and is now and is generally realized as that was OSA, and who, but if it was in the present time, came down on that person's still operating today. That person is a leading light, a highly embedded, highly authoritative influencer on Reddit. So, and she calls me insane. Every chance she gets, she says I'm insane. She just could not hate me. She just could hate me for fucking 20 years, 25 years. That could be true too. I don't know for a fact. All I know is that I know what I know. So okay, we got. Okay. Taylor says Ribguy had a polite conversation during the setup, so there wouldn't be drama at the event. Yes. If anybody, okay. So this, one of the reasons I said this is because Ribguy, when Scotty told me the story about Ribguy's behavior at the occupation, and also Pinche Becky's behavior, walking up with meth, okay, and handing out meth pipes and claiming she was a harm reduction specialist, and doing all this stuff at the encampment, right, or the occupation. I can't remember which was. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention at this time. Anyway, he told me that these two people come up with meth and they come up with all this stuff, and they, and Scotty's like fighting to get all this shit out of there. What are you doing, right? And they keep doing it, and then the next day, Scotty is swatted, and the police are looking for meth in his van. Okay, come on. That's an OSA operation. Okay? That is what they do. Okay? They wanted to get Scotty arrested on possession of meth. Who did this? Pinche Becky and Ribguy. So, am I 100% certain that they were actually OSA agents? No, I can't be. But I can be pretty damn certain that giving somebody meth and then making sure the cops come in to try to find that meth, that's what OSA does. That's what they do. So that's why I am highly, highly suspicious of Ribguy. And it's something that Scotty has been screaming about over and over. Just like I was screaming about 13 pieces of evidence wiped clean of blood and fingerprints at the scene of a quote-unquote S-word. No. See? So when Scotty told me this, I'm like, okay, what else has Ribguy done? Let's watch these two people, Pinche Becky and Ribguy. And sure enough, at the LA protest, Pinche Becky is trying to get all the people around Scotty to come in and beat him up by calling him a chomo and by calling him a racist. That's what OSA does too. And I swear to God, my memory is that I recognize Pinche Becky from ASHO back in the 90s. None of these things are total certainties for me, but they all add up to my fingers pointing at Pinche Becky. You should watch her. Okay? I'm not saying that I'm positive she's OSA. I'm saying there's so many different things that don't add up about her that it is highly likely that she is. Same with Ribguy. So I'm just going to put this here and say that so funny. That's not funny, Chi. I think you just said something that's not funny. Okay. Your truth is your truth. Your breath is your breath. Save both for people who want to smell it. Okay, are you talking to me about that? So anyway, so this is all in the area of looking for who's Ribguy. So the best way to do this is to always doubt ourselves and always look for facts. And if facts go against Ribguy or Pinche Becky, make sure those are highlighted, okay? Because we want to be right. We want to be accurate, right? That's how we're effective in these things. Okay, Zippy. Hello, Zippy. Welcome. Alonzo is tipsy on the DOA Kool-Aid, in my opinion, and nobody, even DOA, said Becky brought meth. Try not to get it twisted. Okay, somebody did. Somebody brought meth, and Scotty was swatted, and they were looking for meth. So if Becky didn't bring it, who did? I might have gotten that wrong. Thanks, Zippy, for your question. Anne says, I say it again, I have a thought that I can't explain. The feeling is that OSA is doing everything to make everyone enemies and forget to fight for all the abuse within COS to come to the surface. That is also another well established pattern that OSA does. However, you have to understand this part, Anne. OSA has had decades to embed people into the anti-Scientology community and to raise their status, to get a bunch of anonymous accounts to share all their stuff and to talk about how they're legitimate people and to turn them into the opinion leaders of anti-Scientology. So that if somebody comes along who says something like giving Scotty meth and pipes and other stuff and then calling the cops to come in and arrest Scotty for possession of meth, that is an OSA op, period. But if somebody comes along, then there's a bunch of people in anti-Scientology that say, the guy who says that is crazy. He's got a whole history of saying crazy conspiracy theories. They'll never say what the conspiracy is. They never say why I'm crazy or this guy is crazy. That's just how they operate. It's like that. So in addition to the element of getting people to fight with each other, and there's also the element to get people to discredit people who are saying, hey, wait a minute, I just saw this happen, So that's going on too. It's called disinformation. And this space is filled with disinformation specialists who are intentionally making things confusing for anybody walking in. Patty Thompson asked a very interesting question here. Why didn't the second gens suspect OSA might have set up Scotty? Why do they need to completely discredit Scotty? Like, Scotty's not a threat to anybody. He's not a threat to OSA at all. He's just crazy. And he deserves all of these felonies. Why didn't they go, well, yeah, it makes sense with what Scotty was done. He did 25, 30 different occupations at Blue. 25 or 30. He grilled stuff on the street, for people. No other protesters ever had the balls to do that. Scottie Hochstetter did. Don't you think that OSA would notice that? So why didn't they ever question? Why didn't they say, well, it might be the case. It might be. No, they were 100% certain, weren't they? How does that happen? These people that are 100% certain, you should watch for them too. By the way, there's 64 people here, and there's 30 of them, a little less than half, are in the higher intelligentsia level, who have remembered to hit the like button. So if you want to be considered the upper crust of the upper crust here in the Alonzo chat, remember to hit the like button. Sorry, I'm joking around. Okay. This is good. I love all this discussion. Let's see. Michelle Haug. Welcome, Michelle. David B's in the chat. Good to see you, David. Under different alts. Taylor, you're trying real hard. You're trying real hard under different alts. Why? Which Taylor are you talking about, David? Taylor, why did DOA accept a meth pipe from Becky? Why would he need that? Oh, Taylor. Wow, that's a great question. Did Scotty accept a meth pipe from Becky? Why did Becky give Scotty a meth pipe? Why did an occupation need to have a meth harm reduction specialist? Who introduced all of this crap? And why was Scotty trying to get rid of all of this shit? Because he could see immediately what was going on. Taylor. Taylor, you really stick out like a sore thumb in this chat. You can probably get away with this in other chats, but I don't think you can get away with it here. Okay? We strive to be accurate here. Let's see. Bon Jovi Crazy, good morning. Thank you very much. It is a good chat this morning. Taylor, can we get any more people coming in here that who want to raise doubt about Scotty or raise doubt about me? I mean, what's been so wild is that normally it's me. I'm the OSA agent. Okay. Hi, Dan Locke. The only entrapment one has is the waiting one does for an answer. I just arrived, so if this is a non sequitur, ignore. Yes, Dan, it is, and I gotta say, you're probably gonna get it, and I think you can handle it, but So anyway. Okay, ICE protests. Okay, yeah, good. I'm glad we're talking about this. Taylor has something else to say. But why would DOA need a meth pipe? Why would he accept that from Becky? He didn't accept it. He got rid of it. He could see immediately what was going on, Taylor. Why? What's wrong? What's wrong, Taylor? Do you have something to say that you need to keep repeating so that everybody begins to wonder if Scotty's a meth addict or not? Do you need everyone to think that Scotty's a meth addict? Why would you need people to think that when it's not true? I've talked to Scotty for hours and hours. I don't notice anything like drug induced in Scottie Hochstetter. Sorry. Taylor and Zippy. This is great. I tell you what, this right here, what I'm watching here is a new development. Okay, in the 25 years, well, I can't say 25. I'd say the first 6 or 7 years of me being out, everybody was educated about OSA. They were educated about all kinds of stuff, and you couldn't really get away with anything. But then Marty Rathbun came out, and Mike Grinder came out, and Karen De La Carriere came out, and a whole bunch of other int-based escapees came out all at the same time, and they all wrote books at the same time. They were all edited by the same guy, and they all said the same things. And then they got onto all the internet properties that were discussing Scientology, and they began re-educating everyone into not knowing the things that the critics used to know. And so I think what I'm seeing here in this chat is that people are being they're waking up, okay? I'm seeing people spotting other people who are in the chat trying to float ideas to get everybody to think a particular way, and it ain't working. That is so good to see. It works in other people's chats. I don't think it'll ever work in mine. I just don't. Mostly because a lot of the people in this chat have been around long enough, and they worked with Scotty. Scotty's been around not only in this protest movement but in other protest movements, and he sees how protest movements are derailed. And so these people are highly educated. Florence says, harm reduction specialist for harm to COS, maybe. Kay Taylor says, Becky said Scott was a PDF to a bunch of kids, although Streets admitted that it was a lie. Becky insinuated Scott broke into her home and left Capra Suns. Oh, Capra Suns is the drink? Okay. I'm cool on believing Becky. Okay, Kate Taylor. Robert Clean. He accepted it like I accepted a handball from a stranger on the street, then discarded it. Saying he accepted it is not representing the situation honestly. Clean statement there, Robert Clean. Thank you very much for that. Factual, very good. Zippy. Alonzo has repeatedly said Becky brought meth to the occupation. Even DOA didn't say that. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, Zippy. That's what I thought I remembered, and I probably got it wrong. If what you're saying is true, then I did get it wrong. I'll check with Scotty. And see if I misunderstood what he told me. Yes. Bon Jovi Crazy says, why would you believe Becky when I saw her lie and do a drug exchange online with one of her videos? Interesting. Judy Grasso Ransdorp. Let's see. How do you say that? I don't know. I was on a kibbutz with a bunch of people from Northern Europe, but I learned a little bit of Swedish. All I learned were the words for various genitalia and things like that, though. Sorry, it's truth. And I learned how to cuss in many different languages, German, but Arabic takes the cake. Okay, they have the best cussing ever, and all people who know Hebrew know how to cuss in Arabic too, because they're great. Sorry, I'm getting off the subject. Chat is determining the subject here, and I'm all for it. Yeah, so here we are. We're all on whether Scott's a meth head now, which is all good. You gotta understand, that is a OSA operation. Okay? It's an OSA operation. Even if Scotty was a meth head, it would be an OSA operation to expose the fact that Scotty was a meth head. See? They try to find any legal vulnerability that you have, and they expose that, and they try to get the police involved so that you can be arrested for that legal vulnerability. Patty Thompson says, 3 different people from ESNB tried to handle me to join in promoting the new strategy of ESNB, the ex-Scientology message board. But he would say what the new plan was. They wouldn't say, but promised I would love it. Not your personal army. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on ESNB. That was like one of their first times where they'd infiltrated the message board and tried to get everybody thinking a particular way. And previous to that, it was like the opposite of that. It was like a group therapy session for ex-Scientologists, and they were all talking about the new things that they'd learned since leaving Scientology, and all kinds of new ideas were flourishing there. And then the int-based escapees came out and tried to get everybody to be uniform. Okay. Taylor, you're going at it. You are really going at it here. So we got 5 more minutes here. And yeah, see, they're not coming for me. For some reason, they're coming for Chi, and they're coming for Scotty, but not me anymore. This is so refreshing for me. It's just so refreshing. All right. So I'm glad that we're all talking it out here because because it needs to be brought out. Ribguy needs to be examined. I'm not saying Ribguy needs to be, tried and convicted, but the outpoints, the things that don't add up about. Did you see that? Did you see? I took a Scientology term and I used its English equivalent. The things that don't add up about Ribguy should be examined by everyone, including Laura and Audit LA and Fat Grammy and all the other targets for OSA right now. They really need to examine the things that don't add up about the people around them. So, just letting it out, just saying it, and I'm not saying that you should conclude one way or another. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open, stay vigilant, and examine these things that do not add up. Okay. Robert Kling, okay, who is known for declarative, concise, factual statements, has now said this: Taylor, the spaghetti throwing gal. In other words, you throw it up on the wall and you see what sticks. You gotta have some. You gotta have some kind of um, compassion for Taylor. She has a difficult job here in chat. It's not her name, so if you humiliate her or expose her, it doesn't really affect her personally. But um, nonetheless, it's hard to have your avatar completely exposed when you're okay. So let me just reiterate this one thing. It's another thing I learned about OSA agents, and that is that L. Ron Hubbard said that you have to adopt a suitable guise. A guise is something that other people see as you are. That's your guise. And a suitable guise is a guise that everyone can accept. So the thing about this is, though, if you're not that person, if you're not that suitable guise, then the things that don't add up stick out a lot. And you start to look like a duckbill platypus. You've got fur here and you've got web feet and you're poisonous like a snake. All these different things come together and you're trying to keep them together in your suitable guise and you look like a duckbill platypus. And so people who are educated in these things, have a lot of experience, have a lot of OSA operations run on them, look around and learn from all the pain of that. And they learn. They learn from that. They're highly motivated. The pain motivates them to learn and to look back and see the mistakes they've made in reasoning, etc. I've done that. I mean, I'm still doing it, but I have had the chance to do that. David B. asks me, the operation going on in your chat was repeated verbatim in another chat within the past 2 days. I'm trying to recall the names involved. That'd be a good exercise. They probably have different alts though. But yeah, these patterns, this would be a program. This is an OSA. I am stating that this is the likelihood is greater than zero that this is an ongoing OSA program going on right now as Scottie Hochstetter is fighting against Kendrick Moxon in court. What they do not want is Scottie Hochstetter to be very popular and have a bunch of support while they try to destroy him in court. So they're coming out and they're trying to erode all of the support for Scottie Hochstetter. And what is so disappointing is that I believe that has worked with Laura, that has worked with Audit LA, and that has worked with Fat Grammy and other people for whom I expected more. So, Chi says, Kendrick Moxon and was in the tent with me and Craig. We were telling ghost stories and drawing faces on our toes. Yeah, Kendrick Moxon likes to do stuff like that. All right. So we are at 1 hour. We are right at 1 hour here. And so I'm going to be ending off. I'm glad, David B., I'm glad that you were in that chat and you're in this one and you can see the operation that's being run. And it's being run through chats on various YouTube channels. And as Scotty has exposed, there are mods who are helping to facilitate that operation, whether they're just duped or whether they're knowing operatives. We don't know which they are, but there are both knowing operatives and their dupes operating in this chat. A dupe is somebody who means well. They really believe, they genuinely and sincerely believe what they're saying, um, but they've been given all the information by a knowing operative or another dupe who's been given it by a knowing operative, and they've created a culture of dupes to help forward this OSA operation, and they have no idea they've done it. By the way, if you've ever seen the TV show The Americans, the very best depiction, the very best writing and acting execution of a dupe is in that TV show. The character of Martha, who is the secretary to John Boy, the actor who played John Boy. He's the FBI counterintelligence head in Washington, D.C., and they dupe his secretary, the Russian spies dupe his secretary into working for them. And it is fantastic. She was so duped, okay, that they flew her to Moscow before she got found out. And she lived for months in Moscow, wearing babushkas and everything, before she realized that she had been duped. The perfect characterization of a dupe. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, watch that show. The Americans is a fantastic show. One of the it's like 6 Feet Under, The Wire, The Sopranos. It's that level of episodic drama. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to be ending this. David B., do you think that you've got all the information necessary to see the pieces of this OSA operation? You are. Why am I protective of DOA? Simple. He's a friend, and I don't like seeing friends falsely attacked by a-holes. That's a good enough reason. Okay, so I think everybody's been able to provide the information necessary. We've got Taylor, who's provided the information she feels is necessary for everybody to make more informed decisions. Okay, and David B. and Chi, they're providing the information necessary for everybody to make more informed decisions too. So I think we're ending. This process is over, and I think we've done a very, very good job. Very good job in providing the information necessary to help people make more informed decisions. So, thanks everybody for showing up, and I'll see you.